Directionality is important in mathematics. In young children, being able to share which shape is above the square is hard for them. Or how about which shape is before the star? This kind of terminology actually makes a big difference when you're talking in math. So we have to practice these skills because it's super important. It's a directional heavy activity. We need them to know left and right, top, bottom. Those are important, and I'll show you why. So think about the direction of adding numbers and how it compares to what we do in reading. When we read text, we're going from left to right, top to bottom. In math, we don't follow this directional pattern. We start all the way to the left and we identify the operation, and then we shift all the way over to the right. And then we come down from the top and we move from the right to the left. That is confusing. And again, I mentioned earlier that the brain likes patterns. This pattern does not make sense to our children that are learning how to read, and reading is such a difficulty for them. So when this enters in, they're like, "What? This doesn't make sense." So think about our number lines too. It's tied closely to the directionality of reading. The numbers grow larger as we scan from left to right. Okay, that makes sense, right? A child with dyslexia could relate to that. Okay, left to right. But often when the negative numbers get applied, the directionality no longer applies. What? Now I can start in the middle and I can go to the left or to the right? That's very confusing for our students. So when we work with integers as a team, we actually introduce a vertical number line because it follows more of a natural law and makes sense to their mind. When we go up the line, the quantity increases, and when we go down, it decreases. And a lot of elementary schools have number lines on the desk, but they always start with 0. They never show students the numbers below, and this messes with their ability to understand that directionality. It's important to expose children to this early because when they get to high school and we're doing matrices, directionality goes a whole nother level. It's a directionality heavy activity. And when I was in high school, I had mega anxiety about doing matrices because I couldn't keep the rules straight. It was too much for me. And so we have to explicitly practice the terminology of columns and rows with students left to right, top and bottom. So let's talk quickly about some things you can do to help with that directionality and position, and it involves gross motor. So with your child, we have some simple activities that we can do here. So some of the things that you can do here is drawing in large movements on your child's back. Now, this is our #1 video on YouTube, and you can go look this up. And what we're teaching in this video is how you can do gross motor to help your child with number reversals. Number reversals are common again because of that directionality. They don't remember, where do I start? You'll see your child hovering in the air and they're not really sure where that pencil should go. So to help fix that, you actually have your child sit down in front of you and you draw the numerals on their back. And your child, because of the way they're wired, that makes sense to them because it's easy for them to transfer the sensation they had on their back directly down to the piece of paper in front of them. And that's really, really helpful. Again, I mentioned that vertical number line. We actually use big tubes, the core of the wrapping paper, to help our students with grasping that quantity, especially when we're working with negatives, because they can put their hands and go up and down when they're adding and subtracting. Really, really helpful. And then with a student that I was tutoring, doing those matrices, we practiced the explicit language of columns and rows, and then cardinal positions like first, second, third. And so I could say things like, put the puppy in the second column and in the first row. So we would practice that and we would interchange the words and all of that so that they were listening closely to what the language was, and then we'd practice it with it written out in language. You have to be explicit with these kids and they really can blossom and understand what they need to do, because in matrices is quite easy. We're just multiplying, but it's the order in which you do it that matters.